So it's about that time. I put a community note out about it. I wanted to break down the Wilder versus Parker fight. That's right, Joseph Parker, a guy who for a while, I feel like in the world of heavyweight boxing, was a sort of big name, but also one of those guys that wasn't exactly star level. And I feel like with this performance, there's a really good chance that he's just catapulted himself to star level. But he's not really who I want to talk about in this video. It's more so Wilder, because I've seen a lot of people talking about the fact that they believe this is the end of the road for Wilder. And I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't feel like this is the absolute devastating loss that a lot of people are making it out to be for Wilder. So let's get into it. First off, I want to comment on Wilder's performance. That wasn't a great performance, but it's what I feel like we've come to expect from Wilder. It's a guy that always is looking for power shots, is always going to put his all, will plant his feet, will rip, and if he can't find that shot, he's going to fall out of rhythm, he's going to fall out of momentum. He's really good moving forward. Backwards, there's little to no boxing ability. He's a great puncher, a great power puncher, if you will, not a great boxer. And a lot of people were talking about the fact that he somehow got exposed, or that this was one of the worst career performances we've seen from him, how he's regressed. And I don't necessarily feel like just because you could say that this wasn't a good performance by him, you could also say that this was the worst performance of his career. I don't really believe that to be the case. I just felt like it's this new Wilder, right? Where guys have caught up to him. Guys in the heavyweight division that can move faster or more agile or better punchers, right? Or better boxers, right? Time and those guys have all kind of caught up to him, and it's all culminated in him, for lack of a better word, getting exposed. But I didn't think that this performance from him was necessarily his worst. I think Joseph Parker had a really good performance when he was riding a 3-fight win streak that's now a 4-fight win streak, but I didn't necessarily feel like we saw anything that was worse than the skill set that we've seen from Wilder in the past. If he connects with your chin, it's over. If he can't get his legs under him, which it really looked like he couldn't that fight. And I guess with that, I'll kind of get into what I saw. It seemed like, again, he didn't find his footing, right? He was kind of here, you know, he wasn't upright and very kind of, you know, his body language was not there. And I even remarked, because I was making notes as I watched the fights and the fight highlights earlier today, in the pre-fight stare down, his eyes, I mean, if you look at his eyes, I'll put up on the screen here, they didn't look like the usual intense type of gaze that I would see from a guy like him. So it all seemed like there was a lack of confidence, both in the way that he was, you know, maneuvering around the ring and in his general body language. Coming in, moving out. I know he had said in the post-fight that he's kind of found happiness. And so I don't want to be the guy to kind of guesstimate on what's been going on in his life, but it's quite possible that he doesn't have that fire. But that is what I noticed, is a lot of times, just getting back to the mechanics of what happened, his legs wouldn't be under him, right? And so when he would throw a punch, he would try to time Parker coming in. His legs were under him, boom. Parker would come in. Parker was fast. Parker was very, very fast with his combinations. So Wilder would try to go for a shot when Parker came in, and Parker was quite literally, and I don't mean to make a joke, beating him to the punch every single time. And even in round 8, right, he rocks Wilder badly, to the point where Wilder kind of had to take a step back and say, whoa. To his credit, I guess, you know, Parker couldn't finish the fight, but he was pretty close to getting a standing 8 count, in my personal opinion. I think it is really that aspect to Wilder's game where it's like, if he can't get himself into a fight, right, and he can't hurt a guy, or he doesn't feel confident in his ability to hurt a guy, I don't think he fares well in fights, and that's obvious to say, but this is a really good, like, if you wanted to show someone Deontay Wilder's game in a nutshell, you'd show them this fight, and then you'd show them, I don't know, one of those countless different fights where he would just absolutely, I forget the guy's last name. He knocks him out. So I would show him these two fights, right? Kind of the double-edged blade of Deontay Wilder. And that would be a really, really good way to showcase what I'm trying to say there. His balance looked off. I mean, it just wasn't a good performance from him. It wasn't an inspired performance. I didn't get the sense that he, to say for the third time in this video, don't get the sense that he had that fire inside of him to continue and to knock Joseph Parker out. And that's fine. I also wouldn't be surprised if ring rust and just a lack of activity played a part in this. I mean, his last time out, people now are going to forget, against Robert Helenius, he knocked out Robert Helenius in the first round. Because I remember watching that fight and being like, oh, wow, okay. And then a lot of people were saying, okay, well, Deontay Wilder's back. Takes a year. And I'm guessing in that year finds his own little slice of happiness. I could get into so many other technical aspects of this fight, how Joseph Parker was changing the eye level constantly of Wilder, going downstairs, coming up top with a big overhand. But that detracts from the nature of this video. And you guys see the name of the video. It's right here. It's why the Deontay Wilder loss isn't as bad as you think. This is a man that's achieved the pinnacle of boxing. He was a consummate champion. And while he was a one-trick pony, for lack of a better word, that trick took him so far and gave us so many iconic moments. He was one of the great U.S. champions and an entertaining boxer to watch, inside and outside of the ring. He's got other stuff now, right? Boxing is, I feel like, and all combat sports are, they're sports for people, you need to be all in. Let's just put it like that. I didn't see a 100% Deontay Wilder, and I don't think I've seen a really motivated and 100% in Deontay Wilder since those trilogy fights with Tyson Fury. And by the tail end, I mean, it's very possible that those fights just took a lot out of him. I wouldn't be surprised, man, if he's taking a leave from boxing mentally. And again, that's okay. Right? He's achieved what he wants to achieve in this sport, and I wouldn't mind seeing him fight in MMA. A lot of people were shit-talking him, detracting, saying, look at his legs, Francis Ngannou's going to kick those off. I would still enjoy seeing him in the PFL Smart Cage. Maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. You know, if you're Deontay Wilder, man, cruise off into the sunset. I feel like your reputation is not, and maybe this is what changes it for me, his reputation isn't damaged right now significantly, I believe. He's on a skid, but keep in mind, some of those fights that he lost were against arguably one of the greatest heavyweights ever. Not even arguably, one of the greatest heavyweights ever of our time. I think less so than Wilder being washed. I think he's just not in it the way he used to be. And I think sometimes that's enough to retire, but I'm excited to see what he does. All right, guys, without further ado, that has been the video for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. I might upload another one, might not. Have to see what it's looking like in the combat sports world, but I wanted to give my opinion on this fight. And without further ado, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.